Let me start this video by sharing an interesting experience I had some time ago. I was invited by a professional HR association to address an evening gathering of about 150 HR professionals, and it was a fantastic opportunity for me. And the topic that was given to me was to share some of my experiences of what we keep doing in HR Footprints over the last several years. I started that evening session with one question to the audience and possibly to you as well. Whether HR should exist primarily for employees or HR should exist for business. What do you think? Now that evening I had a fairly mixed response, and predominantly people supporting more of an employee's view. HR should exist more for employees, and there was a section of people who were also there to support, say, HR should be there for business as well. And my take was that supporting employees is not the end game for HR. HR exists primarily to fuel the business growth, to facilitate business performance. En route, we also need to ensure that there are fair practices of managing the employees and how employees are treated in this organization. So treating employees fairly is not the end objective. By doing so, we need to facilitate the business growth. Now let me explain this concept a little more in detail now. We're all familiar with the iceberg model, isn't it? So let's look at the iceberg model and ask this one interesting question. What are the factors that drive the business growth? Funding, you will have customer relationships, you will have your own products, your quality, your processes, right? These are all the bunch of things that are critical to drive business growth. And if you ask any business leader, any promoter, any managing director, any functional managers, all their focus happens to be on this aspect, which is the upper portion of the iceberg. And very rightly so, because these are the ones which really directly impact the business growth. Now let's wait for a minute. What actually appears at the bottom of the iceberg? This is all about the bunch of people factors that we have here. And the moment you talk about people, you have their own competence, their own skills, their own value systems, their own relationships, their own motivation levels, their intents, right? And so on and so forth. I think bunch of complex people related factors. Now, this iceberg model view teaches us one thing. If I don't manage the bottom part, can I leverage the upper part and drive business growth? And the answer is very clear, no. So I need to manage people in such a way that I leverage the upper part, the factors, and together they will drive the business growth. And that means HR has to rightly focus on the people aspects. Now the catch here is HR cannot focus only on this. HR has to perform a lot of activities here with a keen eye on how can I facilitate the business factors. Now you're not here just to please people or the employees. By treating employees fairly in a most professional manner, by managing all the complexity of people issues, ultimately you are impacting the business factors, and together you are facilitating the business growth. And if you take this perspective, just imagine the kind of depth of the human resource function itself. And when we do the consulting work with our clients all these years, anytime that we are called in to help them in driving business growth through human resources function, we always remember three things. Maybe these are the three things that you may agree, you may not agree. So do write to me in case you have a view about some of these things. You can have my contact details on my website as well. Now, what are the three things? Number one, we always understand the business and the business models first. We actually ask them, so where are you and what you want to be in the next 3 years or whatever it is. This is a very interesting strategic question that we ask. A lot of people suddenly ask this question, wait, I thought I called you for HR consulting, right? You're asking me business related questions. So are you business consultants? I actually tell them politely that HR without serving the business, what is HR? So HR is there to facilitate business performance, and therefore we need to understand what are your business goals so that we can influence some of the people factors. So point number one is we understand more about the business and business models first. So we invest quite a bit of time on that. And from there we derive the people priorities subsequently. Number two, what we do is when we dialogue with lots of internal stakeholders, which are essentially the business people who drive the most of the upper part of the factors, we don't use too much of HR jargon. I think we need to speak more about business language and their vocabulary much more. HR vocabulary, HR jargon, HR models, HR tools, that complexity is something we need to absorb. We can't force them to learn all our languages, right? We are there to help you perform better in your business. So therefore, let me absorb the complexity and give you simple solutions to you. So therefore, we don't use too much of a HR jargon. And number three, for every HR initiative, people initiative that we propose, we go ahead and define the end business objective. You want me to redefine compensation policies? Okay, so then how will it impact people and how will they impact the business? Now, I need to define this end business goal for every HR initiative. As I said, HR initiatives are not going to stop only with people. I'm going to help the people so that they help the business. Right? So HR initiatives have to motivate employees or enable employees, make them more competent, whatever it is, but that's not the end game. The end game is by doing all of this, I motivate them to add value to the business, and together we are able to fuel the entire business growth. So these are the three principles. Number one, understand more about the business. Number two, use less of HR jargon and use more of a business vocabulary. And number three, for every HR initiative, go ahead and define an end business goal that you're going to deliver. And in case you are not able to see a business value of HR initiative, it's a clear signal that you need to sit back and ask, should I do this HR initiative in the first place? If there is no business value delivered, then possibly you should not be doing that just for the sake of doing it, right? I know maybe I'm not going to sound very pleasing that you're not really empathetic with employees. That is not what I meant. I meant by treating employees fairly and making them more competent, helping them to perform better, rewarding them for their contributions. We do all of this, but still there is a business objective, whether employees, whether HR department, HR consultant, all of us together exist to fuel business growth, because if business grows, employees grow. Right? And ultimately that's what everyone wants. It's a win-win kind of a game, and therefore I normally drive this kind of a thought process with most of the promoters. Most of the work that we have been doing is based on this principle that HR is for business performance. So I hope this has opened up some more interesting thoughts. In case you are following this automatically, I'll be more than happy to listen to some of your interesting experiences and successful case studies as well. And in case you want to know more about how we have done some of the other works, just keep looking at our blogs and my podcasts or other videos. Or in case you want to have specific questions posed to me, please do feel free to write to me as well. I'll be more than happy to check your mails and get back to you with a proper answer. And I would like to read more about your experiences. So because together I think we can learn more and we can do much more. HR for business performance. Thank you.